Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
I'm Derek Lemaster.
And this is Screen Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and Derek serenades us with the sweet sounds of his voice.
Ah! It was
Nice.
that, or I just got stuck in a loop, like.
It happened like you were like home alone and you started getting electrocuted, like you turned on the water fountain and you started getting electrocuted,
Yep,
like Marv.
those were classic movies.
They were. How are you guys doing tonight?
Classic.
Doing okay. I survived the movie, so
Hey, you don't survive the Mangler; you experience it.
yeah, it was an
Lived it.
experience.
You let it waft over you.
It was a life and
Here's
death
here's how
experience.
this movie goes. You watch the movie and then watch a 15-minute recap to explain the movie. That's what happens.
No, man. You don't need any more explaining than you do with old sleepwalkers.
No, because I
and
was
stuff,
I had like I would say 85% attention on this movie, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, what the flippity flip? I don't think it would have mattered if I would have had 100.
Oh my god. Well, we'll talk about the Mangler, Toby Hooper's immense '90s classic, here momentarily. But first,
Classic. You throw that word out like it means something.
I'm so excited to talk about this one. But first, I have only a few. But let's get into the horror news. The first bit here is we have a sort of release date for Smile 2. Well, we have an actual release date for Smile 2. It is going to be released in theaters on October 18th of next year. So we did Smile. We had thoughts about it. We don't know what this sequel is going to be about yet, but it does have a release date. What are you guys thinking?
I've already told you what the title is.
We don't want to talk about your title for it. Smile, a slight frown.
A slight frown. Oh god, I forgot what it was for a second.
The worst.
Slight
The
frown.
worst title. The only way a title could be worst is if you just didn't name it at all. That would be it.
It's great.
Or if you called it Smile
yeah.
Fart Factory or something.
Yeah. I have never had so many thoughts about a movie. Smile is like the most complex, confounding, confusing subject for me. We did, I think, 2 hours on it on here, and then I talked about it for another 2 hours after I got off of that episode.
It's a weird one.
I just can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's like I don't know if I like it. Like there's things of it that I
Yeah, exactly.
But then there's things of it that we talked about where we're like,
I don't know.
I don't like that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many weird things.
Either way, they have a year to turn this guy around pretty much. It also depends on when the actor strike ends. Hopefully this week we get, both the actors and writers strikes ending. Let's hope so. Pay your actors and writers, Hollywood. Pay them.
Yeah.
End of story for that. But that's coming our way next year. So that means they've got to, after the strike ends, they've got to cast, shoot, and edit this guy in a year. So we'll see how that goes. Speaking of movies with strange editing, we have another competing Exorcist movie with David Gordon Green's still shooting but finished Exorcist movie.
Yeah.
We have a movie called The Exorcists, starring Doug Bradley.
Like as in plural?
Yes, it's called The Exorcists, and it's starring Doug Bradley of Pinhead fame. It is the plot is when his child is possessed by an unrelenting evil, a father hires 3 expert exorcists to purge the demon and save his family. But this demon is merely a gatekeeper to a true hellion that will be unleashed on Earth if the trio of exorcists fails. It'll be released on September 29th on digital. Now, guys, I wanted to preface this by saying this movie, even though it stars Doug Bradley, is made by The Asylum. So, those Asylum,
weird.
they're the guys that make Transmorphers. Like any popular movie, they make like a movie that's close to it. So
Parody.
your grandma, when she goes to Walmart, picks it up instead. She's like, "Oh, you like Transmorphers, right?" No, Grandma. Nobody likes fucking Transmorphers.
Did he do the bulk? Did they do the bulk?
No, they did not do the bulk, thankfully. But
But yeah, do you know what the bulk is?
No.
the bulk.
I imagine it's a Hulk ripoff.
It
It is
100
a Hulk ripoff, for sure. It is the worst thing you've ever seen in your life, not to mention the top-notch CGI.
Exactly.
You've never seen anything quite like it, to be honest.
And you never will.
Nope.
Next on the list here is Kino Lorber is bringing. This isn't loading for me for whatever reason, but Kino Lorber is bringing the Monster Squad to 4K. So we're getting a 4K release of the Monster Squad.
Nice.
With
Dude, you got my hopes up for just like
you
a
thought I
split
was
second.
announcing a sequel? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. If only.
That is a mini series on HBO waiting to happen.
It is. You're right. Yeah, so what's cool about this is it also includes the Wolfman's Got Nards documentary is included on the 4K disc as well. So you're basically getting 2 for 1. So that should be coming soon. Are you guys looking forward to Monster Squad 4K?
Always.
Because it's the best, right? It's releasing on November 28th. So look for that. I will definitely be picking one up. I love the Monster Squad. It's just one of those that makes your heart feel good, right? Just feel all like warm inside when Monster Squad's around.
It's a
it definitely
cozy
deserves
movie.
a sequel. Yeah. This is cool news. So the original Halloween movie novelization that was printed in the late 70s, early 80s is getting a reprint. So it's Curtis Richards pinned the original novelization to John Carpenter's Halloween. It's getting a reprint for the first time in 40 years, and it is has classic and new gorgeous artwork in it as well. So it's going to be It's going to include original illustrations inside of it as well. So that's pretty cool, right? I'll show you guys the cover of it. The cover's pretty interesting. This is the original cover. Right there.
Nice.
That's interesting.
Looks pretty cool, right?
It does. That's not what I would have expected.
It's 224 pages. So Derek, you probably wouldn't read it, but it's really. But there's pictures.
But I might read it.
I'm excited for this. I want to own. Oh, dude. There's also that's the original cover, but there's this alternate cover. Look at this. What do you think?
Now that is the better cover in my opinion.
Well,
like
cool.
Classic.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, right? Gorgeous.
It's pretty.
It comes out. It starts shipping in January of next year. So I'm definitely going to pick that up too because I love collecting Halloween merchandise, and if I can get like the any Halloween books, I'm all about it. And then finally, this last bit of horror news. There's a new movie coming out called The Cousin. And it's from writer-director Alexander Garcia. It's about a family get an unexpected visit from their cousin Sarah, who becomes their house guest. Strange happenings begin occurring in the town shortly after Sarah's arrival. Soon, the family finds themselves tossed in the middle of Sarah's dark secret. Right? It stars Virginia Madison from Candyman, Dylan Walsh, of course, from Nip Tuck in the remake of The Stepfather, Terry Polo, who plays the woman in Meet the Parents. So it's a pretty good cast. But the reason I mentioned this, what's even cooler about it is that the special effects makeup is going to be done by Jason Baker and Tom Savini.
Dang.
Okay.
The master.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
This is one we might want to keep an eye out for, right? We don't
And
have
this
a
is
release
called The
date or
Cousin,
anything.
right?
Yes, it started filming. It's going to start filming this October. So, yeah. But that's one we're going to have to keep on our radar. Because that's pretty cool, right? Tom Savini.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And those actors,
pretty
those
cool.
are all really good actors.
yeah.
Virginia Madison is fucking amazing in Candyman. Like, she's just
Oh, she
the
is.
in that movie. It's one of the best performances. That one should have been nominated for an Oscar. It's so good. And that wraps up this week's horror news. There wasn't a lot, mostly due to the ongoing strike, I would imagine. So, let's get that shit taken care of. And, guys, this is the last episode of our Stephen King marathon. So, we've had highs, many high highs, and we had some low lows. And we started off strong with Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot. And then we continued running with Cat's Eye. Then we hit a major valley with Sleepwalker. And now we're at Stephen King's, Tobe Hooper's, The Mangler, which, you know, sky's the limit for this one.
Are you sure the basement isn't the limit for this one?
So, let's start with our experience with this. Derek, have you ever seen The Mangler before?
Dude, I don't know. I've seen at least fragments of it, and I'm pretty sure that at one point when we were like super young that I saw this movie.
Mhm.
Although I don't have a full recollection of that event actually happening. And it could just be that I've seen little clips and snippets here, but then the lore of this movie between you and Joey and the amazing song that you guys wrote about this movie, maybe it just lives in infamy in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, if I could find the copy of that song, we'll post it. But if not, we won't. But yeah, Joey and I wrote a song about The Mangler, just called The Mangler, and it was epic, is what it was. Lydia, is this your first time seeing this guy?
Yes, it is. I have
Is it
never
your
even
first
heard
time?
of this movie.
Yeah. So you went in cold, right? I did kind of set it up last week by telling you about it, that it was about an evil laundry press. But you just had no idea what you were in for, did you?
Yeah, even after hearing that, I was like, well, surely it's about more than that.
Nope.
Nope, I was wrong.
One would think. One would think. This is not my first time seeing this. I've seen this several times. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I have seen it several times. I used to watch this a lot when I was a kid. So, here's a story. Here's my Mangler story. I was a huge, you guys know this about me, huge fan of this guy right here behind me. Giant Freddy fan. Freddy was my favorite. And Robert Englund, by proxy, was my favorite, right? So when this movie hit VHS, I remember I went over to my grandma's, went over to Nanny's. Well, actually, yeah, went over to Nanny's. And it was in my parents' house now. And we went to the video store and I begged her to rent this. I was like, Nanny, it has Robert Englund in it. You know, it's that's Freddy. We gotta watch it. She's like, okay, we'll watch it. So she rented it for us.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember watching it, and I mean, I didn't know what the hell. I liked it fine, I guess. You know, Robert Englund was in it. I was like, ah. And I remember the ending specifically because at this point in time, my stepmom had gotten into an accident. She used to teach gymnastics, and they were putting a trampoline away,
Hmm.
and it snapped on her finger, and she almost lost her ring finger. Like, it almost severed off. They had to sew it back on and reattach it. And I remember it was touch and go. And I remember her having the bandage around it and stuff. And then I remember the end of this movie with her missing her finger. And they're talking about the dose of the demon. And I remember being like, is that going to happen to her?
Oh my god, that's great.
But, so then I watched it several other times. It was on HBO. Joey and I rented it because we thought it was hilarious. So we rented it and then wrote a song about it. So this has kind of been in my life for a while, but I haven't seen it more than 3 times. I mean, it's not like, Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street that I can quote in my sleep. This is one that, as I was watching it, I remember specific beats. And then, so I remember pretty much the whole movie because we're going to get into it, but this movie really doesn't have a fucking plot. It just kind of goes from scene to scene is what happens with this guy. But let's kind of try to recap what we can here, because the one thing I'll start with a positive about this movie, which is I think it looks really good. I think it looks good. I think it's shot competently, and I love the industrial look of the laundromat. I think it's very atmospheric, especially with all the the smoke and steam. It looks very atmospheric.
I would almost compare it to like an X-Files episode.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how I was feeling like looking at these sets and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think the movie looks bad. I think it's a well shot movie, especially in HD. I think it looks pretty good. So open on this. Go ahead.
I've got a question because the opening makes a difference. There's a scene. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit to come back to this.
We can just talk.
There's a scene where, okay, so him and his brother are in the basement where the photographer lives.
Picture man. Yeah.
Picture man.
Yeah.
And they see a clip, or his brother sees a clipping on the wall, and it was an accident that that Ted Levine's character was in, right?
Correct.
So he was in a car accident that killed his wife, right?
Correct.
Okay. Then explain this to me. Because the opening, it brings a whole new, gravity to the way that he drives a fucking car, man. How does that happen to you and you not, become a more reasonable driver? Because he's, zipping all over the place. And
That's true. That's true.
Well,
he drives like a maniac.
To be fair,
I'm like, no wonder that happened, guy.
To be fair, his maniac driving starts after he realizes that there's possessed appliances.
No, before that, because he runs the delivery truck off the road.
No.
The appliance gets there.
The delivery truck almost runs into him.
He was
had the
flying
right of way.
down the driveway.
Yeah, he
The
was
like
zipping
90.
around
The delivery truck, he had the right of way. But that explains why he's so pissed at the delivery truck driver, is because of the accident, I would say. But
yeah, I'm with you, man. He was erratic.
Yeah. And he remains erratic the entire movie.
He does. That's all right. It happens.
I've got notes.
But yeah. Then it opens basically on this laundromat, and we get we just get these characters thrown at us. We really don't know who they are, which is fine. You have to you have to meet characters in some way. But there's the old woman, and she's talking to the younger girl, which, by the way, this niece character, she's not very good. The actor's not. But she also does not look 16, guys.
She does not.
15.
I was thinking that.
Yeah.
Huh?
15
15
going on 16. Yeah.
She's actually 25 when they were shooting.
Easy.
Was she? Because I would have guessed
Easily.
almost 30.
No, I guessed 26. Jake looked it up and did the math, and he said she was either 24 or 25.
Yeah, so
Depending when her
Alright.
birthday was,
But definitely older than 16. She didn't
Definitely
look
not-
16.
Yeah.
I mean, if you cast an older actress, that's fine. They can play down, but she just looked like if that wasn't a plot point in the story, you'd assume she was in her 20s.
Yeah.
Or at least 18, right? 19.
Although she is small.
She's small.
I think that's what they had going for her. So, well, she's small enough she could be.
She's also just not very good, I don't think. But, like, immediately an accident occurs, right? She cuts her hand on the, whatever it is, on, like, the belt thing, and it starts bleeding all over the machine. And then...
The lever?
Yeah, the belt lever.
Like,
She like flicking her blood at it.
So, first of all, it's very confusing when this movie takes place, except for they give us like actual dates, because there's things in this movie like that, right? You would think it takes place in the 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
By seeing the laundromat, but then he's driving like a 90s truck, and then he has a CB radio, and then they talk about 1992 or whatever, and you're like, oh, so it's in modern times. There's just a bunch of that's a weird thing. But man, when they just have no safety measures around this giant machine. When the woman's like sitting there, waiting, and she has like her hand pressed, like right
The
near,
old
you're
lady?
like, what the fuck are you doing? Even if this thing wasn't possessed, it would probably still fucking crush your hand. Like, what are you doing?
She was having really bad heartburn, so
yeah,
she thought she'd take a rest right there.
I guess.
Man,
we'll get to the
this
heartburn.
brings up another.
We'll get to
Go
that.
ahead.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
I know you're going to bring up
You're
gonna bring up. Well, I'll explain that. That makes sense. I did some thinking about it myself. But what do you guys think of her death scene? Because I think it's actually pretty good.
Yeah,
I
it
think
wasn't bad.
Pretty good. The effects are really good in it.
Yeah, because she gets folded in half, right? Like a laundry.
She
Like a
gets
piece of
taken
laundry?
through the whole machine. Yeah, through the whole machine. She gets grinded
Yeah.
up.
And
Because,
folded like a bed sheet.
Folded like a bed sheet.
That's most
As
right
Ted
there.
Levine says, folded like a bed sheet. I saw her folded like a bed sheet. And which, by the way, I love him. He's so fun. He's like a
You
10
love him?
at all times. He's a 10 at all times. That's why I love him. He's so fucking funny. When he's like,
I
"Girl,
have the
girl."
opposite reaction.
I love him. I think he's hilarious. But he comes in after this horrible accident. Everybody's still covered in blood. And Robert Englund comes up and he's like, everybody needs to get back to work. Guys, Robert Englund in this movie is a fucking choice.
Dude, the choice of just being as opposite as you can from everyone else.
He's in a
He
whole
is like-
other movie.
He is a cartoon, like a straight up cartoon in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
From the
His-
lighting to the outfit to the voice
to the
to the
leg braces.
catchphrases. Yeah,
His
just everything.
glasses with one eye. He has one bad eye. Oh my god, it's so
and the
amazing.
throat
He's
thing.
like the fucking penguin. That's what
He
it
does,
reminds me
kinda.
of.
Dude, his catchphrase.
Oh my god, time is money.
One-liners. It's crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah. I'm
But
gonna look
he's
up some of the catchphrases in this movie because
he's still fucking great. I still think he's great because the performance is batshit, but he's so fun to watch.
Yeah,
He's just so fun.
I agree. I do agree. He's
Yeah.
never just bad in a movie. Like you can't take your eyes off of him. He's awesome.
Even if it's a horrible movie, yeah, he's still like still brings it up because he's Robert Englund, and he's like, well, I gotta
Yeah.
go to work and
Yeah.
be a pro. Let me do my thing.
The confusion for me is like how the director was just like, "Yep, this all works together."
Well, the director is Toby Hooper,
I know, that's what
the
blows my
writer-director
mind.
of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and just a few years before this, he did Poltergeist.
So it makes me wonder, like, and I don't know that we know this. I don't know this, but like, were they rewriting the script like on the set?
No, I don't think so. But what I do know is, so here's the thing. We'll talk about it at length later on. But this is based off a Stephen King short story about a killer laundry press that they're turning into an hour and a half feature film.
Yep.
That is a tall, tall task.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it only works every once in a while with a short story, right? The Night Flyer is a short story, but turned into a pretty damn good movie, which we've got to do eventually. You can stretch that out. You can add stuff to it. We saw what happens when you try to make trucks into a full-blown movie. It's fucking Maximum Overdrive.
Awesome.
Written by the guy who did the short story, and it's fucking wild. So it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, they had a tall task, but that's the task they were given. We got the rights to this Stephen King property. Toby Hooper, you're going to direct it. Here's the script. I want you to rewrite it. Here's he rewrote the script with the writers. This is what they came up with. This is what they could do, I guess. But guys, when we meet these characters, here's what it is about this movie. It kind of takes place in 2 days. The story takes place in 2 days. And Ted Levine's character, Hutton? John Hutton? Yeah. So Detective Hutton drives to and from his house about 45 times within these 2 days.
Like a maniac. At that.
A bunch of scenes are dedicated literally to him and his brother-in-law leaving his house and then driving back to his house, having conversations in the car. That's
Peeling out.
Yeah, dude, to be honest, the scenes where they're chilling out, I really like, because his brother-in-law is such a fun character.
Yeah, and that's about it, though.
Yeah,
because
so
I would
fun.
not be hanging out with that guy. Like, I would not hang out with John or whatever.
Oh, I would hang out with John Hutton. He's so cool.
Hell no.
He's so cool. And
he's crazy. Dude, the scene where he slaps that book closed. In his
I
face.
love that scene. I love
and then
that.
it cuts. I was like, this guy is a huge jerk. And then it cuts back, and he's got the book open again, and it's like,
my favorite is he's like, this is bullshit.
Yeah,
this is real life. Real life bullshit. Bullshit reality. Because he says there's 3 things: God, country, and the law. This is bullshit. And I was like, I kind of like that. That's kind of funny. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
That's kind of how
that was.
That's kind of how I would react. It's like, the fuck you talking about? But I love how his brother-in-law jumps to possession so fucking quick. Like,
Dude.
He's like, yeah, this woman was put into a laundry press. Huh? Yeah. A woman bled on it. Huh? Yeah. Have you thought about possession? It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
That's definitely the me character.
Because the second accident occurs, and something breaks through and burns a woman's face. A woman that John had talked to. And this woman, this is very important to the plot, gives John the old lady's antacids that she was eating. And so
he took them whenever he was in the morgue.
Well, no, first she gives them to him.
Yeah, she does.
The woman in the car.
Oh.
When he's sitting in his car, she hands them to him. So then when he is at the morgue, he has his bottle's empty. She has a full one, so he replaces it and takes the... So he's been taking these antacids this whole time. But,
damn it.
But, when this is going on, we have the foreman character who's like constantly toweling himself off, like it's like the 1930s, and he's like, get to work, but then he's also like, we're working the girls too hard. And Robert Englund's like, who cares? Woohoo! Woohoo! From a fucking Tex Avery cartoon. Woohoo! Meanwhile, while all of this fucking crazy shit's going on, at the beginning of the movie, when this all starts, a refrigerator, an icebox, it's like gets struck. I don't know what happens. Gets struck, like it falls into the machine. It transfers evil, and so, guys.
Let's talk
about the
thing,
icebox.
This confused me because at one point early on, before they explained like that this machine had a history of the press, they're talking about transference. I'm like, so which one transferred to
Yeah.
who? Was
Yeah.
the icebox evil and then it transferred the demon, or
Yeah.
vice versa? I'm
It was
assuming it was
vice
vice versa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was because we
But
find
it's
out.
definitely
but
not
also-
clear at first.
But yeah, but we find out that
1994
history.
or two, who the fuck orders or accepts an icebox like that?
No, the thing
Good
is,
point.
they didn't accept it. Remember? Because it
Well,
just
they
didn't accept it. They dropped it off at their house, and when they
Yeah.
come out, they're like, "We don't even know where this came from." So I don't know why it was delivered there, but it was.
Yeah, because it wasn't evil until it like
Oh,
ran into the machine.
because it was supposed to be delivered somewhere else. Remember, he has the
Yeah, the
Yeah,
wrong
they-
address.
wrong
Yeah.
address,
Yeah.
so he delivers to the wrong place. So these people have no idea why it's there, but this kid gets locked inside of it and suffocates. They pass through him once on one of their travels to and from John's house. They pass the woman. Then on their way back, they see all these cop cars. And guys, this scene is one that has been seared into my memory since I was a child.
What, the ghost tornado?
When he starts beating the shit out of it with the sledgehammer, and then the ghost tornado comes out. Love it so much because I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Dude, this was wild. This was just wild. I don't even know what to say. Like, what a choice
Yeah. This movie's
on
full of
everyone's
them.
part.
Because also, we have to mention the other character that's going to become important, which is JJJ Pictureman, who is the crime scene photographer. And he's using like an old school fucking flashbulb camera.
Dude, it was actually really
reason.
cool because they took a picture and he like, wow, flipped that
Whops
fucking
it
bulb out of there to replace it.
I think that's why he's using that realistically. Like, they're like, well, it's a great visual when he fucking whips that out. You're like, yeah, it is. It'd be way more boring if he was just like nowadays it would be like this. I mean, photographers would use a flash and everything, but it still wouldn't be as dramatic as whipping out a flash bulb, right? That's the cool shit.
Yeah.
But he's there, and he's like, wow, Johnny, never saw a ghost before. I guess there's a first time for everything. See you around. And you're like, who the fuck is this guy? What is going on?
Oh my gosh.
So, let's talk about their history, because he ends up going to the morgue to, like, basically try to get some answers. Because after the fucking refrigerator incident, he's like, okay, so obviously there's ghosts. Obviously this machine's possessed. We don't know what's going on yet. So he goes to the morgue to try to figure some shit out. And while he's there, Picture Man shows up. And they have, like, a conversation. Actually, a really nice scene, I think, where he tells him about his, he's dying of cancer. And he's being eaten up, which is I think is a pretty good scene, especially the way the two actors play it. Because how he comes down the stairs, to be like, man, I'm so sorry, sorry to hear that. And it's like a good little scene between the two.
I personally think that guy is the best actor in this movie.
The Pictureman guy,
Yeah.
he's really good. He actually is really good.
But I'll also say that it confused the hell out of me that he was also in old man makeup.
Because he's supposed to be an old man, you see.
It actually
like,
did
what
confuse
is
me because I was like, who is that? Because there's so much makeup on the guy. Like,
Yeah, me too.
I had to look it up to see
Yeah.
that he is now old and wasn't old back then.
No, he wasn't old then. Yeah. He was made to be old.
Yeah, which in my head, I was like, something's going to happen where they're going to, like, de-age these two men.
Nope. They just,
Nope.
he needed to be old. And Robert Englund just needed to was an old guy. And they're like, let's put fucking Robert Englund in that shit.
Yeah. So, like, he
and-
loves it.
So, their story, basically they used to play cards together and stuff. And then after the accident, like, he kind of became a recluse, and he tells him, hey, you need to forgive yourself, kind of thing. That's the only way you're going to need to exercise your own demons. And then he goes downstairs. He's like, "Stop back by and see me later tonight. I have some, I have something for you. I have the pictures developed, and I have some stuff for you." So they determine while this is going on, Robert Englund is like sexing up this other woman who gets part of her gets her finger chopped off by the machine. And we find out the backstory. Guys, what do you think of this backstory? When she starts to turn evil. It's so funny because, you have a dose of the demon and the demon has a dose of you, which is kind of a cool concept. But it's so ridiculously done that it's hilarious.
Yeah.
So basically, the rich people in the town have been sacrificing their kids. And he sacrificed his kid as well for power, basically. And he signed his handprint on the contract. Apparently, the laundry press demon drew up a contract for him somehow. And then
because it used to be a printing press.
That's all right. That makes sense. So she literally becomes evil like that because he's like, "This is what happened." But then she's like, the next time we see her, she's like dressed in black and she's cool. It's like, You're like, what?
Yeah, and her hair is done like evil.
Evil hair. Yeah, she has evil hair. You're like, all right, I'll go with it. Why not? I'm fucking all in at this at this point. And so they start to figure out that a virgin, something about a virgin. So they visit the niece, and he's talking to her. John is. And then his brother, Mark, brother-in-law, is like, "Are you a virgin?" She's like, "Get out! Get out!" And I was like, a little extreme of a reaction. You could probably say, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But it's a little, I mean, I guess you're going through hysterics. You saw an old woman crushed in front of you. Saw somebody else get their face burned off. Saw somebody else get their finger ripped off. I get it.
And now you got a pervert in front of you.
Yeah, you got a pervert in your midst. So they come to discover that it's her 16th birthday. After John goes down and visits Pictureman, and we get, I think, the scariest scene in the movie, which is where Pictureman dies. I think it's actually pretty affecting. When
when he coughs into the camera and it's blood.
Yeah, that was upsetting.
The way he looks at him when he's like, and he has like just the blood in his and stuff, because he's like, it has like a really sweet moment with John and kind of, gives him all the, basically says, "Thanks for coming and visiting me. You made me feel like I'm wanted."
Okay, so we're now to the point where we have established the history, right? So
we have established the history. Well, we haven't yet. He goes down into the basement and establishes the history.
Yeah.
Because he finds the book.
So, in the beginning of the movie, it makes you think that, especially after the exposition from the brother, that like this demon came to be in this machine because this virgin had like gotten her blood on it.
Right.
So like, then I'm like, okay, well, all this history, like, why, especially like the older lady, like, why didn't she know about any of this? She seemed like she had been around for a long time.
She didn't know about like it being like possessed, but she knew
sacrificial, but
yeah, she didn't know about it
like
being
the
sacrificial
accidents
either. She knew about the accidents because she says as much. What she says
Did
about
she?
basically she hints at him losing his daughter, and then the foreman mentions that to him. That machine took your daughter. And he's like, "We all have to make sacrifices."
That's how I would handle that.
Woohoo! We all have to make sacrifices. So yeah, he basically discovers that everybody in power, because the sheriff because they cover up the accident very quickly. The sheriff and the judge both come to the Blue Ribbon, which is the name of the laundry place. Comes to the Blue Ribbon and says, "Oh, well, run a test. Is it working?" "Yeah, the safety bar is working." "Okay. Was it just a freak accident? We're going to close this inquisition." Done. And so he knows that he's in his pocket. So we have Hutton goes and visits Robert Englund. And this scene I love this scene because basically they're confronting each other, and he's basically saying, "Hey, you can't buy me off. I don't care how powerful you are." And Robert Englund's like, "You don't know what power is. This is real power." Blah blah. And he says one of my favorite lines, which is he says, "I'm gonna stick those crutches up your moldy ass."
And he's just
That's
not phased.
great.
He laughs. He's like, threatening me?
Threaten. He's like, "I'm not threatened. Threaten's too childish of a word." Blah 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 blah. Ha ha! And then he ends up calling the police chief. So after he leaves, the police chief's like, "Hey, you need to back off. There's no case here." And he's like, "Okay, Hartley." He's like, "Well, now you're suspended." He's like, "Oh, yeah, you're going to suspend me?" And basically says, "How much is he paying you, you piece of shit?" Basically, he owns you. He's like, "Well, now you're terminated." And I was like, good luck getting that to stick, but okay. And so he's thrown off the force. He's done. But he's not going to stop, you see. He has to go get Mark, and they have to rehearse the ritual while driving their truck.
Well,
Stopping
Mark kind of forces him to do it.
Yeah, he forces him to stop, and he's like, "We gotta rehearse it." And he's like, we don't have time for this bullshit. He's like, we gotta do it. So they're on their way, because they realize they're going to come for the niece, because she's 16. It's her 16th birthday, and they have to do it, I guess, by this point, or else it's all for naught. So, they're racing there. Meanwhile, the foreman decides to grow a conscience. And he's like, "I'm going to fucking fuck this machine up. I'm going to destroy it. Yeah, I'm going to dismantle it." And he calls another guy in. "Hey, other guy, go flip those switches that I could have probably flipped, by the way. But go flip those switches. And I'm going to use this wrench to do stuff."
They're
and
gonna disassemble it. That's how you
I
do
guess.
it.
And so he ends up, of course,
By crawling
getting
in
eaten by
it.
the machine. It starts to eat his whole arm. She's trying to save him. The guy's trying to save him. He chops off his arm with an axe. Guys, this scene's actually pretty fucking great. I love the blood and the fact it's good. It's actually really good.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Did you guys notice that he aimed at his neck at first?
Yeah, he's like this, and he's like, because first he's like, "I can't do it. Do it! I can't do it!" And so he's like, and that's probably like, "Not there! There!
Yeah, no kidding. I was like, what's about to happen?
Or even here!" So he chops
Yeah.
off his arm. Does not do any good because he obviously bleeds out and dies. But hey,
Yeah.
it's worth a shot.
Better than getting crushed to death though, like that.
Yeah. So he's like, I love when he said, "Mr. Hartley, do something." He's like, Uncle Hartley, do something. "I'll do something. Gotta do a dance." He starts.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? So then so John and Mark arrive, and they start fighting. They pair off, basically. He starts fighting Robert Englund. He starts fighting Hartley. And Mark starts fighting, what's-her-face? The cool bad chick. And,
Luann or something.
yeah, Lin Sue.
Lin Sue. Oh my gosh, Lin Sue.
Starts fighting Lin Sue. And, so he's being attacked, Mark is, by this woman. And John's over there just, strangling this paraplegic this guy with, fucking braces on his legs. He's like, "Rah!" I was like, help your buddy, man. So she ends up getting flung into the Mangler and getting fucked up. And he's like, Hartley's like, "Lin Sue!" And gingerly walks over there on his braces. And then he's like, "I'm out of time. Ran out of time." And John punches him, and we get the best death in the movie because we see him get fucking folded up by the Mangler. What do you guys think of this effect?
It was pretty good.
I think it's great.
It was fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's I think it's the best scene in the movie. And especially when he says "Our Father who art in hell." He's saying a Lord's Prayer to the devil, I guess.
Yeah.
Classic. Chewing scenery to the end, old Robert. So Guys, they tried to do an exorcism on this fucking machine. And they realize that after they go through it and all this shit, and they think they stop it, they realize that one of the ingredients in the Tums is the... basically, it counteracts the ritual.
Belladonna.
Belladonna, because they talk about it earlier, it can't be belladonna. And they find out that since it ate the woman, it has belladonna, so the ritual cannot go through. Then we get the most fucking wild thing ever,
Okay.
which is a laundry press running after these people. And I literally have no defense for this.
Good, Jamie, good. Because, good lord, this
insane.
movie.
Derek.
It breathes fire. It has
Yeah.
fucking arms.
Guys, Lydia,
don't
what are
know.
you thinking? This is your first time seeing it. Basically yours too, Derek, since you haven't seen it so long. When it starts
Yeah.
chasing them, what are you guys thinking?
I immediately had this reaction. Okay, there's this scene where it's coming after them and they start running and Johnny says something and it hit me that I realized who should have been cast in this role. And I
Tom
said
Atkins.
to Jake, besides Tom Atkins, I have to say, I looked at Jake and said, this movie could have been saved if Brendan Fraser would have been cast as the main character.
Brendan Fraser at this point was fucking Encino Man. So I don't think that would have worked.
No, he would have nailed this movie. The comedy is like practically written for him.
Dude.
And
When
this guy just fails
when
so
this
hard at
happens-
this.
When this happens, Derek, what are you thinking?
So I was still, I don't know. I think that the CGI or whatever the fuck was used was obviously like real weird and interesting.
Bad,
but
yeah.
like,
Yeah, it's bad. It's
you
bad,
know,
yeah.
I was still. I'll be honest with you, man. I was still stuck on what the fuck is the aspirin or the Tums? Like, why
Mhm.
is that an issue? Because they're like, oh no.
Yeah.
And
Because
I couldn't get past that. I had to fucking research it because it
they
didn't make any
discuss
sense
it.
to me.
Yeah, they
I
discuss
know.
it.
I watched a video where they're like, "Oh, he's looking in a book," and I'm like, "Man, that's real loose." That's real
I don't know. I
loose.
got it
Like,
the first time. Did you get
I
it, Lydia?
get it, but
Yeah, it's like I get it, but like
Yeah, like I understood it.
I also
But
I
it
started
was a
this by
scene that
saying I
involved
was paying
reading, so
attention
that's why
like
Derek really didn't pay
85%.
attention to it.
No, I must have been like doing something else when that would happen,
Yeah.
like when that specific scene happened, because I. Anyway, but I mean, you know, for the movie that it is, it was okay.
No, dude,
it was
I
strange
just
that
can't.
a
So here's
press
the
was
thing:
running through the halls.
the execution of it, I don't care about. It's fine. The idea that this fucking laundry press starts chasing them is fucking absurd to me.
Bonkers, yeah.
As
Yeah.
as a
agree.
filmmaker and as a screenwriter, I can just imagine getting to this point and being like, okay, so we need a fake scare, we need this to happen. What would have made way more sense is to have the demon take a demonic form and chase them, be loosed of, which is what happens in the short story, is that the demon is loosed from because they messed up the ritual. Instead of just exercising it, it casts it out of the machine and it's free to roam. That's what should have happened. They should have roamed after them in its form. But instead, they're like, no, this fucking laundry press is going to just start storming through the fucking hall, and then it's going to fall down a hole with them. First of all, it rips Mark in half with its little hands that it has.
Yeah.
yeah,
Apparently. Rips him in half.
cuts him like a piece of cake.
Yep. And then chases him down the sewer. What? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then the next day, he goes and takes her to the doctor. And the doctor's like, you can't see her. And you realize, oh, he's missing a finger. He's part of it. Because she gives her finger to it. Because she's like, just let it take me. It wants me. And so he saves her, but it rips off her finger. Which we don't find out until the end. When
Yeah.
we see her, and she is fucking full Robert Englund out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Let's get out of here. I'm not running a charity here. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
like
she's
she's possessed by Robert Englund's character somehow.
Yeah, which is really
Maybe
weird.
that was his sacrifice. Maybe that was the demon's way of being like, okay, I'll fulfill this.
But he
I have
didn't
no idea.
fulfill it. Yeah, it
I'm
doesn't make any sense.
Like
But-
if he like got reincarnated into
Yeah,
her.
I guess.
I'm just trying to make sense of nonsense, but
Yeah, she's still her, I guess, because then we get this great like mailman shot of her.
and she like the mailman. yeah.
Waving.
Mailman shot. Dude, when she was waving, I was like, we get it.
Yeah. All waving shots are mailman shots from now on. I mean, that's just what they are.
hmm
Any scene where somebody waves at another person and they're framed like this, the mailman from fucking
Love
Creatures
it.
of the Night. But
Children
yeah.
of the Night.
Children of the Night. That's it. Yeah. So he goes in to give her flowers and finds after he gets a letter from Pictureman for some reason had mailed him. I don't know why he mailed him a letter. I don't know. And I also time out. I'm going to go on a little tangent here. I don't know why how Pictureman knew about all of this stuff, but never
And
told
didn't tell him about it.
Johnny about it at all, ever, and just started uncovering it for him instead of saying, oh, by the way, Johnny, yeah, you see this? It's because that machine is fucking possessed, and these people are fucking sacrificing people. I just don't understand that. But, I mean, what are you going to do?
It makes no sense.
But
Would
he
you say
receives
that
a letter
is
from him.
a plot hole?
I'd say it's a plot crater. But he sends him a letter that says, hey, Johnny, beware those fuckers with missing fingers. They have a dose of the demon in them. So be careful. And so then he shows up at the press, and she does the whole mailman wave. And then he's like, motherfucking missing finger, plus she's really mean. I'm going to throw these flowers down, and I'm out of here. And by the way, the press is back in its place. I guess it crawled up from the fucking sewer and reassembled itself.
So it's like the Christine of laundry presses.
Yeah, if Christine were really shitty, that's what this movie would be. Yeah. And he drives off, and that is the Mangler. And guys, you will not believe this, but this movie is, no joke, this movie is 10 times and 20 times better than the 2 sequels that come out of it.
Oh.
Especially Mangler Reborn. It is... Oh.
And that one has Christopher Walken in it, right?
No. What? No! What are you talking
I looked
about?
at when I looked for the Mangler, it looked like
It
there was
looked
a
like
picture
him
of,
on the cover.
It's not
yeah,
Christopher
it looked
Walken.
like him on the cover.
It's not him. It's some
It's
bald
like just
dude.
his eyes.
Yeah, it's a bald dude. Has Reggie Bannister
It looked
in it.
like Christopher Walken from
Prophecy?
no, from
Hit those up.
Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, yeah. No. It's not Christopher Walken. I don't know who that actor is, but we'll get to those. We'll probably wait till season 15 to do the Mangler Reborn.
All right, wait. I just for anybody who makes it this far in this podcast, let's look at this because this just from that shot, I thought for sure it was Christopher Walken.
See, I don't think so. It looks like fucking Darth Vader to me. Like,
Yeah,
Really?
I did too. When it's like
at the end of Return
when
of the
it was
Jedi.
small, when it was small on my screen, I thought the same thing. I was like, that looks like Christopher Walken.
No, it's that actor right there, Warren
Yeah,
Blakely.
like right here, like whenever it was.
Yeah,
yeah,
up close you can kind of
Yeah.
tell that it's
yeah.
Yeah.
got like a
No,
different kind
Christopher
of nose.
Walken would not be caught
That's
dead
that
in a
guy.
Mangler fucking Reborn. I can tell you that. Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah, like I said, look for Mangler Reborn on season 15 of Screen Bloody Movies. That's going to be a way back one.
Guys, we're out of material. No, we've got one more.
They were never out of material. They make horror movies every year. So we're perpetually going to do this for the rest of our lives. Guys, thoughts on the Mangler?
It lives rent free in my mind now.
That's what it does. Gets its hooks in you.
Guys, this was not a good movie.
She's like, news alert!
I
Sleepwalkers was so good.
No,
The Sleepwalkers was good compared to this. This I did
Oh,
Was
not
it, Lydia?
I
I
did
don't
not have
think
as good of a time watching this. I was like waiting for this movie to be over. Like this movie, it was something else. I wanted to like it. I like certain parts about it, but like, yeah, like the plot was so weird and the story was so weird, and I don't know. This movie was wild.
it is a wild movie.
Jamie talks about it. Jamie talks this whole time talked about it like it's a full on classic, like great movie.
You know, it's nostalgic for him, and I totally get that.
No,
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
especially
a
with
rope.
like the whole song that they created.
It's a rope-a-dope, guys. I mean, I
Go
knew
ahead.
this movie was terrible when I picked it. That's why I was like, yeah, let's do the Mangler. Let's do it. Let's get into it. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's got some major problems. The pluses I will say about it is, I do think it's a well shot. I think it's a nice looking movie. I think it looks nice, and I think that the production value is there for it. Especially like I love the '90s like visuals of it, like the way that they compose shots, the way Tobe Hooper composes certain shots. Like I like that. There's some wild stuff. There's that shot where we're like underneath Robert Englund and he's like walking in a circle.
Yeah,
It's a very
I was gonna say that too.
interesting shot.
Yeah.
So I think there was effort put into it, for sure. I think there's effort
Yeah.
put into it, and I think that they tried to make a kind of. I have kind of a love of those '90s supernatural thrillers, right? And they're
Mhm.
kind of trying to do that while also kind of getting some gore in there because there's slasher royalty in it, right? And it's a Stephen King movie, so there's all this like hype on it. And unfortunately, the movie that they're tasked to make is about a fucking killer laundry press.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And I'm sure the press around this movie was Robert Englund, Stephen King.
and Tobe Hooper.
They were, and Tobe Hooper. They were
Yeah.
banking on those three things to carry this movie, and they're just like,
Yeah.
well, what about the story? Does it really need one?
They wanted the
I
name
think for
Stephen
me,
King. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think for me, it really does come down to like the casting. Like, I think the what's his name, Levine, something.
Ted Levine. Yeah.
Yeah, Ted.
Ted
We
Levine.
just
I
call him
think
Ted. We do.
Good old Ted. I think is a great actor, but I don't think he is funny enough for this movie. I wish it would have been someone with a little bit more like humor to kind of match everyone else. I think that would have just made it fit a little bit better, maybe. Because I think he's just so serious and dramatic
He is,
and like
but I don't think
unhinged in this movie.
I don't think that's his fault. I think that's the direction he was given. Because that's kind of the
Yeah.
movie they were trying to make. Tobe Hooper always has a little black comedy in all of his movies. Even Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, has tons of black comedy for as dark and like disturbing as that movie is. There's bits of comedy throughout it. He thought the movie was way funnier than people were giving it credit for. He's like, I didn't know people thought it was so terrifying. There's some really funny shit in there, like when he's beating her with a broomstick. That's stupid. And I pointed that out when we reviewed it. That's funny. When he breaks the broomstick over it. But it's like he tries to put it in there, but they were trying to make a serious adult-ish. I mean, it wasn't aimed towards teenagers. This was aimed at adults, which I think is why it has such a serious, like the central performance is a serious with being funny when it needs to be, but it leans instead of winking at the audience and being more like, this is fucking crazy, which is how they probably should have approached it because it's about a killer laundry press.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes me wish it would have leaned a little bit more
Like imagine
to the insane, you know?
Like if somebody like James Woods of the 90s would star in this, it probably would have had that tone. Because he's somebody of that era that would lean into that comedy. I mean, we saw it in Cat's Eye. Like he could lean into that comedy, I think. somebody like that cast at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I like Ted Levine in this movie because I think he brings a gravitas to it, and he's funny when he needs to be. But his performance is certainly super intense at certain points. But like the scene, I think his best acting, the two best, is when he's in the hallway with Pictureman, and also when after he witnesses the ghost tornado.
Yeah.
His reaction to that is like super realistic. That he like has
Yeah.
tears in his eyes.
He has tears. Yeah, that was
And he's like,
awesome.
Like, what the fuck did I just see? And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's an actor right there. That's an
I
actor.
guess it's like for being like the main character, I just didn't like him at all. I just want to like the main character and root for him a little bit. Like when that thing gets up and starts chasing them into the sewer, I was like, I don't care. The one guy that I liked was his brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law, yeah. And it's kind of shitty how they just kill him off. He should have lived too.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, yeah, kill whoever, but like, you know, the main character just wasn't likable enough for me to care.
I liked him. I thought he was fine. I don't think he's the problem. I think the script is the problem. The story is the problem. Because I don't think the execution is necessarily bad. I think they made the best movie they could with what they had, is what I think. Would you agree with that? Like, the execution's not terrible. It's just that the material is fucking terrible. Like, you're trying to make, you can't make, what do they say, chicken salad out of chicken shit? It's kind of what this was like.
I've never heard that, but that is interesting. That's funny. You can't make, wait, did you say you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit?
Yes.
Okay. I've never heard that before.
What do you think?
But
Derek?
I feel like that fits for this movie.
Yeah, like the execution wasn't terrible, but the script is just awful.
Like I'm gonna have to read the short story just so I can see what was the foundation for this movie, because
it's not very great either. I mean, it's the central premise is about a haunted laundry press. The short story is better, but it's because it's a short story and it has Stephen King prose, right? So it's written in flowery King language. But essentially, it's the laundry press. They exorcise it, and then a demon is loosed. It's the first story off Night Shift, I think, off the short story collection, The Night Shift.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, it's not the best. Let's see, is it? Yeah, it was Night Shift. It was first published in an issue of Cavalier magazine in 1972, and then was the lead-off story of Night Shift. So, guys, what are we going to rate Mangle?
I got mine.
The Mangler.
I got mine.
All right, let's hear him.
All right, I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna give it a 3.
A 3. Okay.
I don't remember what I gave Sleepwalkers, but
you
gave it a 5.
I think it was higher than a 3.
Sleepwalkers a 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I know because I edited it today.
Which, if you would have told me that last week, I would give this movie lower. I would be like, no way.
All right. Yeah. I mean, this movie. So I had pre-rated it. I gave it a 3 as well. I do think that this movie does have some like some sparkles of decent, right? I do think that when the ghost is released from the icebox, I noted that in like my takeaways, like, man, he really like nailed the like what you would feel if that just happened, because he's completely grounded in logic, and wants to make sense of things, and this just doesn't make any sense to him.
Yeah. Blows his whole
like
worldview.
it's kind of like it's shattering to his worldview, and so like his reaction, you could think that was genuine. The beginning of the movie
cool. I think it's cool that everybody else saw it too. Like,
yeah.
Which doesn't always happen like that in movies. You're like, usually it's just the main character will see it, and it's like nobody else believes them, but everybody freaking saw it.
Yeah, the neighborhood was there.
The beginning of this movie, Yeah, I mean, even other cops were there and they got to see it.
Yeah.
But the beginning of this movie was a little chaotic. There are things in this movie that, if you're not really, and I preface this by saying that I was like 85% paying attention to this movie, which actually is pretty good. Sometimes, I'm completely miss the colored print that the movie's in, so
That's true. Yeah.
I feel like that's that's an upgrade. But there were some parts where I was like, man, it doesn't make any sense. And then just like talking through it, and then I watched a review on this movie because I didn't have time to rewatch it. But yeah, I think a 3 is very appropriate for it. But I could see like those little aspects that shine through a little bit.
Okay,
That's my
so
take.
to recap, you both gave this a 3. Derek, you gave fucking Sleepwalkers a 7. I'm never gonna let you live that down.
I did.
A 7.
Nope, and you shouldn't. But
A
I told you
7.
before it was.
You've given movies that are like legitimately really good 7s. Like that's wild.
And
That's wild.
nostalgia goes a long way.
Apparently, but that's not what
It
this
does.
show's about. It's not about.
I
Hey,
mean-
you remember when
That's
you used
exactly
to like
what
this as a
show's
kid?
about.
It's what is this movie? So this movie, like I said, I've watched it many times, and this rewatch of it was just solidifying the fact that it's a stone cold 9 out of 10.
Stop it.
Are you kidding? The lecture, yeah, it was like the lecture you just gave me.
Jamie
I'm gonna give it a
thinks
6,
it's
Derek. I'm gonna give this a
A 6,
motherfucking
okay.
6. What do you think of that?
Good. Bring that average up.
Oh, 7.
I like
I'm gonna
it.
give it a 7, like you
You
did.
want a
Fucking
7?
Sleepwalker.
I'll give you a 7.
No, it's movie's
I'll
not.
give
Realistically, it's about a 4 or a 5.
What you going with?
I'm going with a 5.
5.
There's because that's as sloppy as it is. There's still something to be said about seeing, Robert Englund with Toby Hooper making this wild fucking chaotic 90s mess. And which is what it is. It's a mess. That's the problem with the movie. It was put together so sloppily, and there's just like so much stuff that you have to like dig into to understand. And it was like this thing had 3 screenwriters, and I don't know how. 3 screenwriters. Toby
Yeah.
is one of the screenwriters. But it's just it's all over the place. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 5. I mean, I'm leaning more towards a 4, but since you guys were pricks and gave it a 3, I'm gonna give it a 5. Raise up its average. Especially since Derek gave fucking Sleepwalkers a 7, which is absurd. Absurd.
Maybe I was sleepwalking
like-
when I did it. You don't know.
You probably
Oh.
were. You'd have to be.
Maybe he is a sleepwalker.
Well, I rewatched rewatched a review while I was editing it, and we were recapping the movie, and I was like, man, I think my 4 was a little high for fucking Sleepwalkers. It's pretty bad.
You know what? I am gonna be 100% honest with you. Before we got into the movie, did I think you guys were gonna give it a 7? No, but I was a little shocked at some of the critique that came against that movie. I was like,
How are
okay,
you shocked? That's
to
like
each
me
their
saying
own.
I'm shocked at you guys thinking this movie was bad. I know it's bad.
Like I said,
I can't believe
did
you
not
think that
expect
shitty
you to
plotting
give it
is a problem.
A 4. No, like there were some things that I mean, we have different
Eric,
takes on.
because
and,
you're into
I
mom
was a
cat
little
sex,
shocked at some of it.
I'm not going to kink shame.
Well, I told you, Oliver has his own bedroom.
Oh my god.
I don't know. He's got a broom closet that he goes into.
It's off the rails
at
now,
night.
Derek. You took it off
Yep,
the
now
rails.
we're going to have to cut this. Okay, but anyway.
Oh, by the way, just want you to know, I 100% kept last week's opening in when you say you're the most boring person in the world.
Yeah.
I kept it because it was too funny, and the joke that we followed up with didn't make as much sense without it. So I had to do the
Yeah.
whole thing.
That's
So it's
fine.
great.
That's fine.
It's great. So that is the Mangler. And before we talk about next week's episode, I would want to say that it was a great time with Stephen King Tober. We will
Is that what we're calling it?
that's what we're calling it.
Stinker King Timber.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Yes, we are.
So,
Stinker King Timber. These movies got worse and worse.
I picked the best movie of this whole.
What
saga.
did you pick?
I picked Salem's Lot.
You picked the best
did.
and the worst.
You did.
I didn't pick the worst. Derek picked the worst.
Nope, statistically, yours was worse.
Statistically, I picked the best.
No, statistically, I picked the best. I picked Salem's Lot.
Cat's Eye.
Actually,
classic.
Cat's Eye had a better average. I mean, by like point
Ah,
7, something like that. It was not much, but they were very close. Cat's Eye and Salem's Lot.
Yeah, 'cause they were good.
they were.
Unlike
Good.
I mean, I didn't,
Remember,
I picked two
remember when
Toby
we
Hooper
watched good
movies.
movies?
I picked 2
You
Toby
did.
Hooper movies on opposite ends of the
Yep.
spectrum.
Yeah.
But next year, we'll do 4 to 5 more Stephen King movies in the month of September. And there's plenty to go
King
around.
Timber.
We haven't even hit the Children of the Corn movies.
There's a lot. There is a lot.
Getting to those, there's like 27 of those. So that'll be fun. But, guys, it's time to Atkinize the Mangler. Who would Tom Atkins play? The lead.
Probably Johnny.
Yeah. He would actually crush that role, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It probably would,
Crush
yeah.
it. He would crush that role. This movie would be an 8 if he was in it. At least.
Yeah. I mean, it would be a 10 if he was in it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Especially in that role. I mean, come on. You
Yeah.
have so much
I don't know
fun.
if I would go with a 10, but it would. I do think, casting does
Derek's like,
play a
there's
lot
not
of
enough
that.
mom fucking.
There's not enough. There's not enough. There needs to be more. Shape shifting, ancient
Cat people.
cat incest.
That's the only way I rate films. So we are in agreement that he would be John Hutton. He'd be the best.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so we're starting our Halloween month this week. Lydia, it's your turn to pick. What are we watching for our Halloween countdown?
All right. I'm going to start us out with one of my new favorite cozy, scary movies. And we're going to watch Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Okay. Getting into some PG-13 horror.
Yes.
Toning it down.
But I think it holds up, though.
We will
'cause
find
it's
out
kinda
next
freaky.
week if it does. Where can we
I will
watch?
tell you if it does. That'll be my first watch.
When
I'm
can we
pretty
watch
sure
Scary
it's
Stories?
on. I'm pretty sure it's on something. I think it's on Prime.
On Prime? Let's
I
see.
think so. I just saw
It
it. on
is
something.
on Peacock, Hulu, Tubi. So it's on all of those places. Peacock, Hulu, and Tubi. So look for that then. Derek, do you have a story for us?
Have I ever told you about my grandma who... I know I've told stories about my grandma, but like,
You've
She used
told
to give
the
us
story about your
beer.
grandma.
yeah, but she used to give us beer back in the day. Did I ever tell you about that?
No, but it sounds
All right, so-
like Child Protective Services would love it. Continue.
I mean, I'm old now, so my grandma was an alcoholic. That's just the way it was. So every night, man,
The
she
way
would
it
just get
was.
toasted. She would just get toasted. It was so bad that we moved to Kentucky. My mom moved us there, and then my grandparents followed us, and it was a dry county. So they would literally once a month when they got their Social Security checks, like go to a county that wasn't dry, fucking load up the trunk full of cases of beer for my grandma, and then like bring it back to the house. I mean, like 13 cases of beer.
Wow.
And I know, man. And so she had her special little beer mug, like cup. And so she would pour her beer, and it was never quite big enough to hold her entire can of beer. So she'd be like, "Oh, you guys, you want this?" Like me, 5 years old. "Oh yeah, I'll take a drink." And she would give like each of us like little sips of her beer. I told my wife that, and she was like, "Oh my God."
Did you think it was gross?
I mean, I guess maybe like beer's not that bad. I'm not a drinker at all. I mean, that's
No, that's
surprising in
what.
the way that I grew up and
Yeah,
the dispositions that I had just in my family to potentially go down that road. But like, I mean,
shocking.
beer I can drink. Everything else I can't. But yeah, she would give us her leftovers that didn't quite make it into her cup of beer.
That's
That was my grandma.
excellent.
Nice.
I mean, man,
I
you know, it's
yeah, I
wild.
remember having a conversation one night, and she was like slurring drunk, and I was like 7 or 8, and I was mad at my brother, and she was like, "Oh, here, honey," and she like got into her like. Do you guys remember the purses that were like held the cigarettes, like their little cigarette
Yes.
cases that?
Yeah.
The little
And she
clamp.
Yep. Clamped open.
Yep. So her and her completely drunken stupors like, "Here, honey, here's $20." I don't even know if she remembered giving it to me, but I was like, "Thanks, Grandma."
Aw.
These are such warm, fuzzy memories.
That was before she shit on my back.
I wasn't gonna
I was
mention
much I was much older when that happened.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
She was
gosh.
shitting on you
man.
your whole life. You just didn't know it.
I
We
loved
did.
my grandma.
We
I
did maybe
That's
get
good.
to the bottom of your cigarette phobia as well. Remember? We think that maybe we figured it out, which is
Did we?
that that people used to smoke and put their butts in cans.
Yeah, I maybe, because man, let me tell you what, that was all. It still makes me want to throw up. No. Get the. Anyway, we should stop talking about this before you guys charge me for a therapy session.
Did she smoke too?
Oh yeah, she smoked.
Like a chimney?
She had she had cirrhosis of the liver. She eventually died from complications of that. But yeah,
Yikes. Well, I think way to end that story on a bummer, Derek. He's like, boy, this party really died.
Just a warning for all the kids out there. It's not a good. It's not a good way.
I'll say this: for all her faults, I love that lady. I'll always remember her. She was great.
She was great, and she could take a mean shit.
I mean, if you were an outside person looking in on the family, she probably wasn't the nicest person, but
I would say she wasn't nice, maybe responsible.
that too. At one point, she was a recluse, man. She didn't leave the house for like fucking decades. And what really broke her out of her shell was she started going to bingo.
Oh God.
She never went to the store. She never went to the gas station. She didn't have a driver's license. She didn't drive. She stayed at the house.
That sounds like the life.
I don't know, Lydia. I don't know.
That's what I
know.
strive for.
Well, just start drinking a lot, smoking, and shitting on your kids and grandkids, and then you'll be right where you need to be. Reached your goal. All right, and that wraps up this edition of Screen Bloody Movies. This one went off the rails at the end there. It was like this month's Stephen King's. We're like, burrow.
Stinker King Timber.
It just went bad.
I think that should be a shirt, actually.
Do it, Lydia. Stinker King Timber.
Actually
People
did
are
this.
Like, what is that?
It went like this. That's what it did. Because the last one's a Mangler. Solid 10 out of 10.
Good one.
All right, guys. Next week, stay tuned for Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which you can find on those streaming services such as Peacock and Tubi and Hulu. And be sure to comment down below your experience with the Mangler. We want to hear if you think it's as bad as Lydia and Derek say it is, boo, or as awesome as I say it is. I mean, I don't think it's. If you think it's as okay as I think it is, comment down below and let us know. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned. We'll have some movie updates coming very soon. The movie is going to start shooting sooner than you will expect. And also, you can follow us online. You can follow us at HiLaProductions.com. You can follow us on Facebook at HiLa Productions. You can follow us on Instagram at Screen Bloody Movies. And you can follow us each on the Twitter machine. You can follow me at Racket. You can follow Derek at DDoggyMaster. And you can follow Lydia at Lydia is Spooky. Until next time, for Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. And remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.